Welcome to the Crafty View. I'm Diane Williams, the host for the show, and my guest today is Kira Cummings. She's a member of the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi. Welcome, Kira.
Hey, hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going pretty good. I hope it's going well with you.
Oh yeah, can't complain.
Good. Today we're really excited about learning a little bit about you and about the type of artwork that you do. So sometimes artists, they do more than one type of art. So we'd like to hear about the various things you do, but with a focus on your membership as a Craftsman's Guild member.
Okay. In addition to my um, mediums that I do for the Craftsman's Guild, I do wood burning and wire sculpture for the Craftsman's Guild. In addition to that, I do paintings in my spare time, and I also do videography. I shoot music videos and weddings as well.
Wow, multi-talented. That's fantastic. Where and how did you learn to do your wire sculpture and your wood burning? Give us a little bit about your background in those areas.
Well, I just got bored. I think I just went to the museum or went somewhere and I just saw some bead art one time. I just saw like, man, I really want to do something like that. And it mostly came from me wanting to know how to sew, and I cannot sew to save my life. So that's literally the closest thing I get to sewing is like stringing the beads in the wire. So that's how that came about. It's like, hey, I can't sew, but I can make 3D art that has absolutely no correlation whatsoever, but it makes me feel good about my lack of skill in terms of sewing. And as far as wood burning, I got interested in that because I do I do illustrate, but I don't really care to like do pencil drawings as much as I used to. So I just thought, okay, what's something that I can kind of show off my skill set a little bit, and then people think that it's cool, and it's like it's just drawing, except it's like drawing with a hot pencil. So that's where wood burning came about, and I enjoy it a lot more than just pencil and paper.
So you found these comfortable places, looking at the possibilities, looking at what you were dreaming of doing, and then adapting that to the beadwork and that sort of thing. And then the drawing on the wood, but you can't make any mistakes, can you?
Wood is actually it's pretty forgiving. You have to just use some sandpaper. You might have just used like a softer grain, but it's doable. You just have to be pretty careful not to make any, like if you make a really harsh line or if you press down too hard on it, you really just burn. And if it's like a really hard indention, then you pretty much ruined it. But outside of that, for little soft lines, yeah, you can sandpaper it off.
Okay, so it just takes a little work and you can work or you can do some workarounds. That's fabulous. What inspires you to do your work? What inspires you to create the types of designs you do? And then tell us about some of the designs that you do.
Some of the designs, let me show y'all right quick. Most of my work is mostly, I guess you would consider fan art. With my wood burnings, I mostly do rappers or popular people. Most of this came about because I have a company called The Works, and I host local hip hop shows, and I just figure why not make some more art that kind of correlates, so I can kind of cross promote. So that's how some of that came about. I don't know if y'all can see the details on that,
And this is
but
burned into the wood.
oh yeah, this is all just wood burning.
It looks like a photograph.
I'm not quite that detailed, but I mean, I try to be. But yeah, I just have fun with all the shading and stuff and the line work, trying to get that precise. But I mean, I try to go for realism. I wouldn't consider myself like a hyper realism artist, but that's how those wood burnings came about. And my my wire sculpture is because this came about because I'm pretty fascinated with insects, except I don't like touching them. So this is pretty much this is how the wire sculpture came about, and trying to get the patterns and stuff is very tedious. I have no life when I make these. So, I mean, because I'm shrinking the beads in one by one.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that.
Incredible. Looks like hundreds of beads are on that design.
Oh yeah, I have just beads all over the floor when I make these, so it's always kind of fun.
Do you
That's why.
name those pieces?
I'm sorry.
Do you name those pieces?
Well, just like basic, like ladybug and ant.
Okay.
That's I don't really name them anything too crazy. It's like, hey, that's kind of what I was modeling, basing it off of. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm pretty safe with my titles. So
Do you have a studio in your home or a place where you go to work in a studio?
I do have a studio space in my house. That's pretty much it. Hold on a second, let me plug my phone in real quick. But yeah, I just use the space in my house. That's all it is.
Okay.
Nothing too fancy.
And how long have you been doing the wood burning and the beadwork?
Let's see. I started the wood burning 2010, roughly. Kind of started getting into it. Then I started taking it more seriously around 2016. Then I took a break from creating wood burning, just art, because I was just getting fed up with doing shows, and like I just stopped for, I want to say about a good year and a half, where I was just kind of off and on, like, okay, like I would make maybe two, maybe one wood burning a year.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
all the ones on the table that I just showed you, I made those I want to say towards the end of December of last year and last week.
Oh, okay.
So those are fairly new.
So tell me a little bit about your education background in the arts. Are you educated in the arts?
Well, I did go to Jackson State. I didn't do any of the things that I just showed you at Jackson State. Um, I did try to get into wood burning at Jackson State, but they don't offer a course in wood burning or wire sculpture or anything like that. So most of that just came from just being curious and seeing if I could, I guess challenge myself to a certain extent. So that's how those came about, because it's like, okay, painting is fun, but I mean, I think I'm a decent painter, but it's not anything that's gonna like wow people or anything. So, as I just think I'm a stronger illustrator than a painter. So I just thought I need to really have something that's more portable, that's more durable, because it's irritating traveling with paintings.
Ah. So you
Yeah,
like a
it's
challenge though. You like a challenge because in your woodwork, I can see the shadows, I can see the texture and the contrast. Even though there's not a variety of colors, I can see what you would see when you look at a person.
yeah. I try to get some shadows in there because I just don't want a picture that's too flat. That's just so it's not really fun to look at, because I always think of like even when I select the image to wood burn, it's like, okay, I'm looking for contrast. So it's like if I don't see any shadows, like any mid tones or anything, then I just don't pick that picture. Or if I do pick it, I could as exaggerate the tones, because I still look at wood burning like a drawing. Like I need to see the value scale.
Okay. You did a series that I found very interesting. I guess it was about 2 years ago. I may be getting my years wrong, but you and I have a hobby that, not a hobby, an activity that we both like. And you started doing some wood burning based on those characters. You know what I'm talking about, or do I need to remind
Oh,
you?
yeah. I think I know you're talking about the wrestling, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I I still have those. I'm just kind of I guess resetting my series in a sense, because even though I still occasionally watch wrestling, but it's also I'm trying to create work that's more relatable
Hmm.
to just the average person, because it's like, yeah, people appreciate, the wood burners for themselves. It's like, hey, I don't know who this is.
Ah,
So it's kind of like a lot of people are just unfamiliar with wrestlers in general. So it's like, okay, I'm creating something that has a very small market. And I know a lot of artists don't want to talk about like, oh, you shouldn't make work for money, but I want people to see my artwork. That's the ultimate goal. And if they can't relate to it, they don't really care for it. So it's like, why am I creating something when only a certain amount of people are just going to really appreciate it?
I like that you're paying attention to trends. You're paying attention to what's on the horizon, what people find interesting. That's really great. Has anyone influenced your work? Are there other bead makers that you've found stimulating to what you do, or wood burners? And, and has anyone mentored you? Have you been mentored in any of these art forms?
No, I haven't been mentored. I would be afraid to even approach somebody for a mentorship. Well, I take that back. The closest, I guess, is in terms of my wire sculpture is Ann Campbell,
Yes.
who's also part of the Craftsmen's Guild. Because I remember the first time I submitted with my wire sculpture a couple of years back, I actually got rejected, and I was thinking like, oh, I'm not gonna submit again. But in their rejection letter, they mentioned that I should reach out to her, and I think I was kind of hesitant, but I just thought, why not? What do I have to lose? The worst she could say is no. So I reached out to her, and she gave me a few pointers on different wire to use. So that was helping up using actual like sculptor's wire. It was a lot softer. Like the gauge was not low,
Mm-hmm.
because the lower the gauge, the harder the wire is. And I was literally slicing my fingers open. So that was helpful to have that tip. Um, in terms of wood burnings, I haven't had like a mentor, somebody who I could just hit up and be like, yo, you do wood burnings, I do wood burnings, we should talk. I would say the closest person who kind of inspired me was Ed Ford, who's also part of the Craftsmen's Guild.
Yes.
Because when I submitted for wood burnings the first go round, I got rejected. And this was before I started like really um, focusing on my details in terms of shadows and my contrast. Because he actually submitted the year that I tried to get in, and he got in. And I was like, what's so great about his wood burnings until I saw him. And I was like, oh, okay, I can see why I didn't get in. And I actually I had a conversation with him at the Mississippi Museum of Art at the after museum hours things, and we just had a discussion about wood burnings and whatnot. He's real cool, chill individual. So I would say in terms of his art, especially with he does a lot of nature like tree trunks and stuff with his wood burnings, and I find those really cool to get that detail.
Oh.
Because
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like he makes tree trunks look fascinating. And that's not something I would burn, but I like to look at it though.
Mm-hmm. Do you use a special type of wood? What do you look for in your woods?
Mostly something that's light, kind of like birch. I don't really like to use darker woods too much, like pine or anything, because those burn super easily. I don't want to use anything that's soft. I was about to make a perverted joke about how hardwood is definitely preferred.
Mm-hmm.
But you definitely kind of want some sturdy, something that's durable that won't burn too easily. Because I used to do like little scrap pieces of wood I just stopped doing that because that's such a hit or a miss with the textures and the grains. Like you can easily mess up something.
Mhm. Where do
So
you
I just
find the wood? Where do you find it?
usually you could find wood panels at either Walmart, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. Like it's not that difficult to find those. I definitely prefer something like that. That's just, I mean, they last pretty well.
Mhm.
I haven't had one like fall apart on me or anything like that.
Have you ever done any workshops to teach others or mentored anyone else?
I've thought about that. At one point, I was planning on doing that because I wanted to do like a wood burning workshop for children.
Yes.
And it dawned on me, well, actually, I'm trying to think. No, I'm thinking of something else. But I decided against it because I don't mind educating children, but I also just don't like dealing with their parents. So that's what it just boils down to. Because I used to I worked at a child care facility before in terms of mentoring and everything, but I really just don't like dealing with the parents.
Yes.
Like it just makes everything just difficult. It's like I don't have time for this and dealing with administration and the parents. It's like I just want to have fun with the children.
I hope people understand that as artists, we just want to be artists for the most part. And if we could
Hmm.
impart that on someone else, all is well and good. We don't want to do taxes. No, I'm just joking.
Kind of have to,
We
but
have to, though.
oh yeah.
It's that time of year. Where do you show your work? Where does it's at the Craftsmen's Guild, and they have a gallery, and they also have the Pearl Outlet Mall. Have you shown in any other places?
I showcased at Gallery One near Jack State's campus before. Um, I showcased at Studio 20, I think it's 2500 in Birmingham. Um, I've showcased in other places in Jackson too. Oh, at Sinai Gallery, Offbeat.
Mississippi College, I think I saw your work over
Oh,
there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, better memory than I do. Yeah, I did showcase at Mississippi College. I'm like, ooh, I need to look at my CV again.
In the Arts Center downtown, the Mississippi Arts Center in the building where the Mississippi Museum of Art used to be. You've exhibited there, I believe.
Yes, that is correct. I have.
Yeah, so I've been around. I've seen some of your work.
I see.
Tell me what it means to you to have gone through the adjudication with the Craftsmen's Guild. Every 3 years, you have to adjudicate in. What does that do to you as an artist? What is that process like?
It keeps me on my toes because I can't cut corners. I mean, that's one thing. Because the fact that I got rejected twice when I first attempted to enter, it's like, oh, okay, there are actually people looking at this, and it's actually like, okay, y'all have real artists,
People
you know.
need to know that. They really need to know that.
Because I mean, that's what I get for kind of halfway throwing something together, be like, oh, I'm just going to submit for this and I might get in. And it's like, no, this is very serious. You need to take it serious.
And
And then plus,
it helps you become a better artist, doesn't it?
it does actually.
Mhm. You were going to add to that?
Mm, kind of forgot my train of thought. My apologies.
My apologies. Mhm.
But yeah, I think it's worth it. I mean, it definitely helped me grow as an artist. The
Well, that,
fact that there's a process for that. Not everyone can just get in, which I appreciate looking back in hindsight. Where just because somebody applies to something doesn't mean like, oh, okay, you're in. It's like, no. So I'm glad that there's a process in place for that.
very good, very good. Have you ever heard of the John C. Campbell Folk Art School or the Penland Center or other places where craftsmen can go and learn? to do a better job with their craft or to learn a new craft?
I feel like I should be more in tune with stuff like that, but when it comes to I guess taking class and stuff, I really surprisingly just don't like being around artists that much. Because
Wow.
sometimes artists kind of have these big egos, and it's just so discouraging to me to meet somebody who I kind of look up to or admire, and they just had this big head, this ego, and it's like, oh, you're taken away from it. I love your art, but I don't like you as an individual. I just hesitate to take classes because there are a few artists that I've met, even like locally. When I meet them, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have met you. Like, that's a terrible thing to say, but the amount of artists who it's like, I still like your work, but you as a person, eh.
That's interesting because we are just human beings with personalities, different types of personalities, and some artists are just all about their art and trying to come outside of that and interact with people sometimes can be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is the best instructor for me. Like, in terms of getting better with my wood burning, it's like I'll just look up something on YouTube or just to get an idea or see some form or buy a book or something. Because I don't know, with classes, it's such a hit or a miss, especially depending on the classroom size, where if it's too big, it's like I'm not going to get that one-on-one that I want anyway. Because I've taken like workshops before, but it's like, it's too many people in this classroom right now.
So those are things people should think about when they consider taking classes. If they just want an experience, it's great to be in a large class, but if they're there to really learn some techniques, the smaller classes would be much better, more
Oh, yeah.
suitable. And then sometimes when you're doing certain types of crafts, being in a large class can be helpful to see the various techniques. I know I teach and I find that I have to tell the students that when we're talking about other things, our brain is not concentrating on what our hands are trying to do. And most crafts people work with their hands. So you usually stop working with your hands when you're talking about various other things. So, and then you spend more time needing to finish your product. So it is an interesting thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what would be that process via the various medias?
Well, on Facebook and Instagram, it's Kira Cummings Studio. It's pretty much the same on both platforms. Also, if somebody wants to see my videography, photography, they could follow The Works LLC on Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
So
Is,
those are, oh, I'm sorry.
no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I said social media is usually the best way to contact me. I usually don't give out my phone number or anything that freely, but definitely social media. I'm pretty active on those platforms.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about your work?
Not that I can think of at the moment.
Well, I'd like to thank you for taking the time today to be on the Crafty View. And people can see your work during the month of February. There are a number of craftspeople that are exhibiting in the George Berry Gallery. And that's inside of the Craftsmen's Guild of Mississippi in the Bill Waller Center at 950 Rice Road in Ridgeland. So they can see a number of African-American artists' works in that gallery throughout the month of February. Thank you so much, Kira.
No problem. I forgot to mention that. It's like, duh, got a show going on right now. I was like, oh yeah, I should have said that.
That's okay. Lots going on. Thank you again. Have a great day.
All right, you too.